Lee's Lost. Hello Lee, I know you watch regularly. Actually, do I recognise any names here? Are proper two-man tents practical for wild camping, or are their footprints too big? Actually, I missed that. I think you can get a two-person tent down as long as you've got enough, as long as you've got enough room to put it down. As long as you've got a human-shaped bit, I still think, and then the lumps and the bumps aren't too big, I still think you can get a two-person down, but that's why I like the Trail Star or the mids so much, because you can kind of, without an inner fixed, because then you can kind of put your big shelter over your human shaped area, and then obviously then you can lie on that human shaped area that you've pitched over. So it's probably not as easy with a fixed tent like this, but you can do. How have you found your transition from zero drop outers to the barefoot? Yeah, that will be interesting. I might have to watch this video, see whether he answers that. I've been using zero drop for about 6-7 years. My first zero drop was the Innovate 150, whenever that was. God alone, I did a video on it. God alone knows when that video was. I mean, I don't know the barefoot Vivos, so I don't know about those, but low drop is definitely the way to go. I must do, I know Paul did a video on that. I must do a video on that sometime as well. I've been thinking about it for ages because I've been using them for a long time, and they're definitely better than boots. The one thing that if you forgot to pack, you would miss the most? My pillow. I think probably my pillow. I mean, obviously assuming that you remember all your essentials. I once forgot a foam mat, amazingly, and I kind of did miss that, but you can kind of manage that. But a pillow, but then I know you can make something up with other things, but my pillow. Favorite place to camp? Well, we've kind of covered that here really, because it's just nice and convenient. Best meal you've cooked while camping? Well, my own freeze-dried meals are really, really nice. The expedition meals are really nice. And the real termats are really, really nice. When I've done my own, which we are going to do a little bit later, my own fried meals, steaks I've done, but not that often. We are going to do a steak today. I know my subscribers praise me for not doing steaks, but we are going to do a steak today. I've done steak, I've done chicken, I've like all those meals have been enjoyable, but I mean I wouldn't take them, it's just if you're doing a Paul Messner and you're just going up a hill camping and going back down again the next day, then it's kind of fine. Or if you're doing a Tony Hobbs, and you're coming out here and you're not moving so much, then it's fine to bring food like that. But I mean I wouldn't take it on a longer walk. What hobbies do you have outside hiking, camping? Well, watches, but I haven't done so much on that. I've got a watch channel, link below. Photography, I've got a photography channel, link below, but I just haven't done very much on that either. I really want the weather to kind of improve, and then I'll try and I really do need to try and do a bit more on that. I just enjoy the camping and getting out so much. Camping takes over everything really. I think camping is going to take over pussy, I think, now as well. It's just not worth the effort. What do you use to store your food when taking steaks? Well, I just leave it in the packaging, and then open it when you're out there. Good to see you buzzing, Paul. Is he buzzing? Is he buzzing like a buzzing bee? Can you give a real-time report on the footwear, please? Oh, I haven't been looking at names. I'll have to go back through names. How many of these? Lee's Lost, I think, was the last one that I recognised. But of course, these are like handles with their @ so I might not recognise them anyway. But then given he's got 160,000 subscribers, it's not likely that I'm going to recognise many traitors who are on the dark side. Hang on, I've lost where I am now. If you were only able to do one more wild camp, where would it be and what would the meal be? I mean, in some ways, like somewhere like Scotland, or, you know, somewhere like really remote. And if I had to change the battery in the GoPro, I literally ran the battery out. But a last camp, I don't know, maybe here, because it's just quiet and peaceful. And I think this would just be, you know, potentially something nice, you know, to go out on, just relaxing. And what would my meal be? Well, either one of my own freeze-dried meals, which I kind of made up, or maybe just to annoy all of my subscribers, a steak. Right, so someone else asked, what has been your favourite wild camp of 2023? All of them. They're all different. Watch all the videos below and you tell me which was your favourite. But I've enjoyed them all. Someone says, can you give a real-time report on the footwear, please? Well, I like Innovate for most walking. Not necessarily everything, but most walking. What's the one camping gadget that you can't live without? I don't really have camping gadgets, because everything that we use, you know, everything that we bring out, you know, we use, don't we? So Garmin InReach, but you know, I mean, it's there for safety, really. It's not something I could live without. Power packs, phone. Mainly because I like watching things and making, you know, videos and things. I don't really have a gadget as such. And we're not talking about my other gadget. Moving on very quickly. Would you ever consider doing overseas content in the likes of Switzerland, etc.? Who knows what the future will hold? Do you plan on doing any overseas backpacking, camping? Who knows? Let's see what happens. It would be nice one day, but we'll see. Any plans to get back? Well, I never did bushcraft, so that doesn't count. Do you think wild camping should be made legal in England, similar to Scotland? Yes, but I don't think they ever will. I mean, Labour says they will, but I bet they don't. I mean, yes, I think it should. I think that I don't know, this is Scotland, so like big and remote and not overly overpopulated, that it's probably easier up there, whereas down here, would it change though? Would it? You know, does it mean that suddenly everybody's going? I don't think it would. So my argument's probably not really valid. I mean, it should be though. I mean, we should be able to legally, but then we do it anyway, don't we? What track anywhere in the world would you most love to do? I think with commitments here at home, you know, it's not so easy, and something remote. I suppose I don't know what walk I would like to do, but I suppose before I die, it would be nice to do something that was kind of like remote. It was kind of like, you know, that was, I don't know, that was like remote. And I mean, it'd be nice to do something. I don't like the cold though. All these bloody YouTubers and all these adventurers all like the bloody cold. You know, they all like the Arctic and everything. I mean, maybe one day it might be nice to do something in the Arctic or something, but I wouldn't do it by myself, you know. Who with Always Forward, check out his channel. I reckon he'd do something with me. He does stuff. Dan Jones, I don't know whether you're watching this, Dan. He might do something, he'd probably do something with me. I don't know. What strategy for dry feet when it's truly dumping rain? Gore-Tex boots or just get wet then change at camp to warm up? You answered your own question. Yes. You know, other than when it's freezing cold and then you really are Gore-Tex boots, gaiters, waterproof trousers and a wing and a prayer. And then obviously just make sure you've got warm, dry stuff. Well, not warm, but dry stuff in camp, you know, that covers you from head to foot so that you can warm up and hot food. But basically 3.5 seasons of the year, yeah, just wet feet. And then just when you get into camp, dry, you know, dry, it's fine. Stop crying about wet feet. The best rain jacket that packs away and it costs less than 100. That I don't know. I don't know, because I always just use Gore-Tex or something, you know, more expensive. I'll have to try some of those things one day. Thinking about camping gear, tent, sleeping kit for a big guy in all directions. What would you recommend? What would you recommend? Because it seems that if you want something to accommodate, it's really only top end stuff that does. I don't know. It is difficult when you're very, very tall. I must admit the Durston X-Mid probably is good for really, really tall people, even though I'm not a huge fan of it, but that probably is quite good if you are very, very tall. And the expensive stuff, you know, if you are very, very tall, then PhD custom all of their sleeping bags and clothes, but it's very, very expensive. Are you planning a hike of more than 5, 10, 15, 30 days? No. Although some of my trips out will, you know, can be 5 days, but best socks you've used with the, obviously best socks, I mean, it doesn't really fit there, but I mean, I like Smart Wool, but I have been getting into Darn Tough. I like Darn Tough. I think the important thing is merino. I think merino wool in socks for what we do getting out here. I think merino wool. I know they may not last for forever, but merino wool is still the best. Waterproof trousers and jackets. I've answered that before. I've answered that above. I don't really have the cheaper experience. I've tried Pertex, like waterproofs, and I just got wet in it. But that was like 5, 6, 7 years ago. So it might be better now. You know, I've tried lighter stuff. That's why I've gone back to Gore-Tex, because I didn't find anything that was really good, and Gore-Tex it does seem to just work. Someone else says, any plans to go up to Scotland? Yeah, I'm going to go up to Scotland with Chris Townsend. Stuck in the tent all night, do you ever think, what the hell am I doing here, especially when you can't sleep? I've never thought that, because once I put the tent down and I get into camp, it's just magic. I just love it. It's so cozy and comfy, and I've got my food, I can watch something. Sometimes when I can't sleep, it does get a little bit frustrating and what have you. But I've never thought, what am I doing out here? Again, the early days, I did have to fight mentally to stay in camp, and that took quite a long time to go, years, not months, before that went. It was quite mentally challenging for me to stay out here in the early days, I must admit. But I never thought, what am I doing out here? Any idea what is the best fuel for trangiers? I've never used a trangier, but methylated spirits is what I use. As regards human waste while camping, do you think we shall soon be carrying it out alongside Leave No Trace? There would be no way to police that, would there? Who's going to police, are you carrying out your crap? You know, I think just bury it, you know. And obviously the more popular places get, then the more you're going to get human waste. As long as it's in the middle of nowhere and you're not doing it on paths, you know, bury it, you know, if you can. If you can't, then, you know, at the very least go somewhere where the chances of someone stepping on it or seeing it is slim. I mean, in the Peak District last year, you know, there was clear human waste on the path. It's like someone was walking down the path, had to take a crap and did it on the path. That is disgusting. You know, at the very least, if you can't bury it for whatever reason, yes, it's not going to be very nice if we end up seeing it. But the odds of seeing it, you know, out here is remote. So at the very least, get off the path and away from water. The main thing is make sure you've always got a bag with you and put the paper in. The worst thing is paper. Take the paper away. What's the lightest, smallest, cheapest sleeping bag out there? I think if you're going to do a long distance walk, you don't want a light, well, you want a light. You don't want a cheap sleeping bag, though. I wouldn't have thought. How's your Paramo jacket going? Well, I've got a Paramo jacket. I've been using them for like 10, 12, actually no, I think I had a Paramo when Sue was around. I was wearing Paramo, I think I was wearing Paramo when Sue was around. That's like 15, 16, 17 years, something like that. I don't know whether I still have one from back then. I probably sold it and got other Paramo jackets, but yeah, Paramo is very good. Just treat it and wash it properly, carefully. So if you don't know about Paramo, if it gets dirty, wash it in detergent first, then take it out the machine, wash your drawer in the machine, wash the machine to get rid of all the detergents, maybe do a rinse cycle, then put your Paramo jacket back in again. I know it's a bit long-winded, but this is the best way of doing it. Then pure liquid soap, wash it in that to get rid of the detergent, and then TX Direct and tumble dry it if you can. I think you can iron it on a low iron setting, or what I do, because I can't be bothered to iron it and I don't have a tumble dryer, is if you've got a pre-iron setting on your washing machine, maybe do a cotton wash, maybe like a short cotton wash, 30 degrees, low speed, low spin speed, and do that cotton pre-wash, and then that will get a little bit of warmth into it, and that should work okay, hopefully. Are waterproof gloves a myth? Love while camping, but my hands get painfully cold when putting up my tent. I'm yet to find a pair which are warm and waterproof whilst being thin enough to be able to put up my tent. That is a really, I am doing a glove video, and that is a really, really interesting. Arc'teryx do a pair of Gore-Tex gloves, but I don't think they're sealed, and they're called Venta. They might be worth looking at for that type of thing, because I think they would be waterproof enough for putting up a tent, but whether you want to be using Arc'teryx gloves for putting up a tent, I'm not quite sure. But they actually look quite good. Other than that, probably the other thing you could do is, if you've got some rubber gloves, like surgical gloves, is put on a light pair of gloves, a thin pair of gloves, put the surgical glove over that. That'll keep your glove dry, put your tent up, and then at least your gloves are still dry. I'm not a huge fan of waterproof gloves. I prefer like a waterproof over mitt, but you can't put up a tent with an over mitt. Just make sure you've got extra gloves as well. So don't just have 1 or 2 pairs of gloves, because when it is cold and wet, if you've only got one pair of gloves, you're asking for trouble anyway. So, you know, take at least 2 or 3 pairs of gloves with you, especially in this type of weather, especially if you're out for several days. You know, I really, really think you need to be taking several pairs of gloves, and just understand they're going to get wet. Any chance of some multi-night solo camp? Well, I do that all the time, well, regularly. It would be nice to see Paul do more solo things, you know, just getting out by himself, you know, and doing more. Is bringing a hot water bottle classed as cheating? I personally think that you should use your sleep system. Let me rephrase that, because I think your sleep system and what you're taking should be up to task. And if you're relying on a hot water bottle or hot pee in a bottle, or you're relying on something like that, yes, it might be nice, yes, it might very well work, but what happens if it doesn't work? What happens if it leaks? You know, you're in for trouble. So, and I know some of you like a hot water bottle or like heat pads and things like that. Personally, out of choice, I won't touch them at all. I'd rather have my system that can cope with the demands of what we've got. Obviously, in an emergency, then that might be different. I suppose if for some reason, you know, my sleep system wasn't up to task, then I suppose putting hot water in something, you know, it's kind of, for me, it's a last resort. And so far I've never needed it, and I really just don't recommend it. Just make sure that what you've got goes above and beyond what you need, and then you won't ever need it. I just think it's safer. I know a lot of you like it, and I know a lot of you, it doesn't cause problems, but which is fine. If it works, then that's fine. You know, I just think it's not a good idea. Best canister stove. What I will say is I am hoping to do some snow camping with Chris early next year, and I'm hoping that MSR are going to send me the reactor stove, because I did ask them, and I'm 99% sure they're going to send me a reactor stove for snow melting. So that could be interesting if it gets here in time. If it doesn't get here in time, then obviously I've got the Jetboy or Minimo, which I could use for snow melting, and I could just use the meth stove, but that would be slower. Someone says, leave no traces. Good. What's your opinion on food waste, peels, etc.? Yeah, we probably should take peels with us. Again, the only thing I'll say on that is you could bury it. I don't see why not burying it, but probably should take it. Probably should take it out with you. But then I don't have anything to peel. I don't do bananas, and I'm bananas enough. If you could start from scratch again, what would you want to do? What would you change? I don't think I'd change anything really. I think the only thing I would do differently, I wish I'd gone up to Scotland more with Chris. That's probably the only thing. I should have put more effort, you know. Maybe when you're in a relationship and that type of thing, it's not so easy, but you know, I managed it last year. Mind you, I think I was running away. Do you have a poo when you wild camp? Yeah. I've got a video on that somewhere, on not really liking it. How would you prep if you were taking a kid? Well, I got a dog. I didn't bring the little one. It's just so cold and wet and just not very nice. Like I said, I think while my parents are able, then I'll leave Lizzie with them when it's like this. Lizzie might be okay in this, but just take them, you know, just take them, make sure they've got what they need, and just take them. I don't see what difference it is. Obviously if it's baby, that's different, like nappies and everything, but I don't really see it's any different. Just make sure you've got food and drink and shelter and they're warm enough and everything. I don't see how it's any different to preparing for us. Tomato sauce or mayonnaise on chips? None, neither. A bit of salt. Best bivvy tent, 19-year-old designs, solo event bivvy, simple. Is a Jaffa cake a cake or a biscuit? I don't know, it's a good question actually. Biscuits, aren't they, really? And that's it, that's all the questions. I don't think anyone has asked anything else. This is quite a long video. I might break this into 2 more parts. Are there any more traitors in here? Apart from Lee, I don't think I recognized anyone else, but then I wasn't really looking at any of the other names, to be honest. But like I said, I really wouldn't be surprised that none of these watches anyway. Anyway, that's answered Paul. That's answered all Paul Messner's questions for him. Thank you, Lee, for supporting me especially, and I think your sense of humour is more than adequate to the jokey thing here. So yeah, anyway, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff. I don't know why I ever bother saying that. I hope the 1 or 2 of you that watched enjoy this video, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks very much for watching. Or if you've got any other questions or comments, you know, put them below. And we'll look forward to seeing you in 2024. And I must remember to do my favourite stuff of 2023. I'll do that at home. All right, now, while everyone's obviously by now completely and utterly disappeared, Below Average Wild Camper asked 2 questions and I missed them. And this is the only question that I'm answering after seeing Paul's video. So I will kind of answer it and having listened to, to his video. Everything else on this video I did, I think it was probably even the same night that he was camping. Obviously when I'm going through the comments, I only see the top part of the comments. So I just saw something about football and that's why I missed it. So the first question was red or black label. Is black label really required in the UK, or are you better off saving the extra weight and going for the red label? I would say for most cases in the UK, red label, is more than enough. Black label is nice if you can, if you can justify the weight and the cost, then obviously black label is nice. The Hilleberg Namage 2 that I was using on this trip is black label, but I don't think it's essential. And then obviously the next one, I'm an MLD fanboy and love my Duomid. You didn't seem to get on with your Duomid and sold it. What didn't you like about it? And yes, I do remember watching, obviously I've heard Paul's reply to this as well. So yeah, I do remember Paul's video when he first pitched it, and in a way it's a shame that he wasn't with someone who knew how to pitch that Duomid properly, because I don't think, and it's not his fault, if he hadn't pitched it before or he didn't really have very much experience with pyramid tents, then I think he was going to struggle, because I think it was quite slack from pitching. I think he needed a slightly longer pole and a slightly better pitch, because I have heard that Chris Townsend, his Duomid XL, he has not sealed it, as I understand it. I could be wrong, is not sealed. and he's used it in rain and it doesn't leak. And my guess is somehow, either by black magic or simply because he can pitch it properly and very, very tight and exactly correct. I don't know. All I know is my understanding is he's not sealed it and it hasn't leaked. I've sealed all mine. I've sealed my Duomid XL, and I have had some leak issues with it. The one thing that I learnt with camping with Chris is that you should always have a lightweight bivy bag with you, and if you do have a leak as an emergency or extra condensation, which I seem to rarely get, then you can always, at a pinch, just get into the bivy bag, and then that will give you some protection. And also, we really should be carrying with us, a repair kit, and in that repair kit we really should be having some seam sealant or something like that. So if rain or water does get in, then just grab that seam sealant out of the repair kit and dab some on the inside. It's not perfect, but it most definitely helps and will work. Even if it's dripping through, just get that sealant on the inside and just rub it into the seam. And like I said, even with water coming in, it does help. But I've done it and it helped. Regarding the pole in the middle, I really don't think that's much of a problem. You can just work around it. And I did hear Paul say that he didn't like the pole in the middle. Like I said, I'm so used to it myself that it just doesn't bother me, because you've got like a ton of space everywhere else. And I also heard him mention that he felt like your head's only in the middle and there's not very much usable space. Again, I actually disagree with that, because you've got a ton of space, at ground level, and I think it's really, really easy to get to things at ground level. Yes, okay, if you want to put your head over to the far left or far right, you're going to be doing a Laurel and Hardy and having your stand laurel head sticking out the car type, so clearly, yes, your head is restricted in a sitting up position, in the middle, but then that's fine, because then at least you can sit up, you can kneel, which helps packing and everything else. And obviously if you want something to the left or right, then just, crouch down, a little bit. So yeah, I agree. I think it's a fabulous tent. Yeah, but it's not for everybody, and I'm not criticizing him for not liking it. It's just how it is, I'm not a big fan of the Durston, and yet everybody seems to love the Durston. We're all different, and that's fine. But I do think pitching it well and good, is a really, really good idea. You really do need to get those Duomids and those mids tight and as straight a back as you possibly can. I think you've probably seen my video where I had the Duomid XL, in the Lake District, and there was a bit of a bow in the back of it. I think it was the first day when I backed off the snow. And then you just have to jiggle it a little bit to get the back, nice and tight. So anyway, I hope that's answered the question. It's kind of added an extra bit of time, to this video now, but I just wanted to add this in at the end. Like I said, that was the one bit that I did miss because I saw football and I'm not a football fan. Maybe if you'd have mentioned about cricket or something, I might have paid more attention. But as I said, in watching his video, I did catch on that that you had asked that. So I just thought I would add this in at the very, very end, because like I said, while everyone else has probably turned off, I think you and Lee, and obviously others as well, who support this channel, will be interested, to listen, even if you can't see me. I just want to add this in. Anyway, I'll shut up now. Thanks to you and everyone else for supporting the channel, and I look forward to more camps in the near future. Take care. Thank you very much.